Proverbs 21, 20 colon 1, the first proverb. Wine is a mocker. Strong drink is riotous, and whoever is misled thereby is not wise. Oh man, that's very true. I was certainly not a wise man in my youth. Or at least, I guess, younger than I am now. Proverbs 20 is, at least as far as this translation goes, is not as simple to read as some of the others that I've read so far. That one's pretty simple, but I'm that guy. It's not simple. There's nothing in the Torah that's simple, but the Peshat, the surface understanding is fairly clear. So are most of them, but there's some a person definitely needs like a lot of help just to understand what the Peshat, what the simple meaning is. Like this one, 24, 20:4 was kind of rough for me. The sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold. Therefore he shall beg and harvest and have nothing. Took me a while to, the last part is pretty obvious. He's not going to have anything that he reaps to eat, so he'll be a beggar. But I think the first part is saying that he won't see the future coming, like won't have the wherewithal to realize that it's not going to be spring and summer forever. So he won't do the work that he needs to do to plant and harvest. So he's not going to have anything to eat. And that definitely applies to more than just crops of the ground or a person's paycheck and their retirement package or anything else. Sages say to look at the life of the ant and examine it closely, and learn from the wisdom of the ant, both what to do and what not to do. The ant gathers all the food it needs for its entire life in about, let's say, just say about a day and a half is what they discovered for its entire life. But it keeps working for another, on average about another 6 months until it dies, constantly gathering more and more food. And one of the sages knew some of the wisdom of Shlomo Melech, who knew King Solomon, who knew the language of the animals. And this sage asked the ant, why do you keep working if you gather all the food you need for, like, in the first less than 2 days, and you don't need to do anything else? And the ant said that, in case the merciful one decided to bless it with a long life, he wanted to be ready. Or she, I think the ant was a lady. And so a person can learn both what to do from the ant and what not to do. They should, never stop working. But for what? is the real question. Working for what? And what not to do that the ant did was the ant had faith and trust in the creator of the worlds, that he might be merciful one day and grant him 1,000 years of life, or something far beyond what, to match the food supply that she had amassed in that 6-month time frame. And the ants want to be ready just in case, but they didn't have the emunah. They didn't have the faith or the bitachon, the trust in Hashem, that they would that God would grant them the parnasah, the sustenance, to match the life that He blessed them with. That's the thing that they teach about. That's important to know about blessings. That, I mean, if a person only asks for half a blessing, that's probably all they're going to get, unless they have to be paid more, or there's some balance that has to be due, or given. But God never gives half a blessing. He's not going to give someone a long life and then make them starve to death if they didn't earn that 1,000 years of suffering, mostly by their acts, but also a person can also suffer that just from lack of faith, like the ant that had trust in God, that maybe one day it would be blessed with, or she would be blessed with a long life, but only had faith in half the blessing. I do occasionally, Joshua. Good evening or afternoon, wherever you're at. Hope your teshuva is going well. I'm not sure exactly how well my teshuva is going, but from as far as I can tell, everything is pretty awesome. Of course, I've been known to be wrong. I just realized something earlier that I don't know if you saw the stream where I was talking about that annoying thing, or a couple series of small, just stupid events that happen. Like I guess it was right around tax time, about a month ago. Taxes in general, and then one or two other things that the totality of any other time than in right then at that moment in my past history, I would have definitely not handled well at all, and I would have raged, and my ego and anger would have gotten out of control, and it would have done absolutely no good. But thankfully, I was able to take everything with love and understanding, and First of all, it wasn't really that big of a deal. And the tax thing was extremely frustrating, trying to deal with stuff, especially like having to deal with like robot calls of stuff that just seems like the voice of Satan, automated. Or I guess I should say his wife. I mean, it's just some person that they hire to do these automated calls and stuff. But and I know I'm certainly more sensitive and susceptible than most people are. Probably primarily because of just the acknowledgement and not knowing what it leads to if I let anything other than what I absolutely have to in just to function and survive in this world and deal with my obligations of uh, of taking my stripes, so to speak. Even though it's nothing nearly that bad, at least not really, not physically anyway. That's something I learned a while ago. I would hear the English translation of certain things being referred to as stripes, and it took me like a few weeks to figure out what it was. That's that's the English translation for lashes, for when someone that was guilty of some crime would get punished by the court, the Bet Din. Because the lashes would present as bright red glaring stripes cut into their flesh. Back when the Bet Dins used to have real authority, the Dayanim, the judges, the rabbis that were judges, if there was a case of a man and a wife that didn't were would and should get a divorce, but the man wouldn't give a get, which is the divorce decree. It's like according to the Torah, according to the law, a divorce can't occur without the man giving a get. But also the way the Bet Din works is the Dayanim, the judges, are supposed to have the authority to do whatever it takes to enforce the law. And so even though they can't, because that's just that's the way it is. They can't sign the divorce decree because they aren't partners in it really. It's like between the man, the wife, and God. Well, they can beat the man until he signs a decree of divorce or dies. And that's the thing about the wicked people, is they will tie the hands that make justice just. Like even in Eretz Israel, the state, those things are not just. And then the wicked people complain that that uh, that the rabbis are misogynists or won't allow a woman to get divorced. But if they actually try to do what the Torah says, then they would scream and cry even more and call them, monsters and murderers and all kinds of other garbage. It's not true. I was thinking about something that the sages say. I was trying to find the source in the 5 books of Moshe and in the Torah, in the written Torah, but mostly all I found was like Jewish cooking websites talking about chocolate and honey. I think there is one verse that I found somewhere. But I'm not sure. I may have lost it. Anyway, it's a comment from, or a statement from the sages that uh, this the Torah should be sweet in your mouth. And what a lot of people say is like words of Torah should be sweet. Like, and a lot of people unfortunately like translate that as they should be what people consider nice and fluffy and rainbows and cotton candy. But if a person does that, they pretty much carve out like over half the Torah, at least at the very least. I mean, if a person includes the whole Tanakh, I mean, there's and a person only takes out and learns and gives over what they like as they interpret as sounding sweet and pleasant. That's definitely not the Torah, unless they have real fear of heaven, and they've broken their midot that are so flawed to think that think that's what the Torah should be or is or anything remotely close to that. They should be sweet because a person has broken their midot to where they understand all the, not just the awe and wonder and beauty of God's mercy and kindness and the wonder of creation, but also because they love his judgment. They love his glory as he comes to destroy the wicked people. And they love to hear about all the curses, both in this world and the next, and the fate of the soul that's going to be utterly destroyed and tortured for the crimes that they've committed here in Kafakela and Genom. Because that's the only way that a person can have any hope of staying true here, as if they burn those words of strong Musar and the very, reinforce that foundation of base level of fear in order to keep building on it, so their house of Irat Shemayim, and eventually, with enough dedication, the starting of love of God. But to always reinforce all that stuff with the terrors, and burn it in there so that you love to hear it. It enriches your soul. It is like man from heaven. That's why it should be sweet in your mouth. Because people should understand that fact that there's really no way to get close to him, let alone maintain or reduce the separation that there is between his presence here in this world and a person. You got to learn to love Genom Shures, and talking about punishment for wasting seed and immodesty, and how if we don't all straighten up, the creator of the worlds is going to come down here and smite the earth. That's really what the rainbow is. I used to think it was just like God's love. I mean, it's definitely a sign of his, his amazing creation. His awe and wonder. The kind of like the middle ground between love and fear. It's like a visual taste of that appreciation. But as beautiful as it is, it's not the whole truth, and it's definitely a really really superficial, selfish aspect of appreciation for God's creation, especially if a person ignores why or what it represents, and just appreciates the beauty. I mean, sure, a person can be grateful for his kindness of making such a wondrous, beautiful creation. But if a person doesn't acknowledge what that rainbow represents, and why he wiped the world out in the first place, and do everything that they can to not repeat those acts, not be an abomination. Then it's pretty superficial, pretty ignorant, pretty blind. The rainbow is a sign to people that we're not doing well as far as observing the law that we're supposed to, whatever that is for each person or peoples. I got sidetracked on the test. I think I mostly passed the test of I definitely could have done better on some things. But others, I think I did about as good as I could have. So the moment where I got angry was like very fleeting. You know, there's still like ego there and anger, but man, it doesn't take too long if you really work on seeing and refining yourself as over time anyway, slowly, as much as you can get the strength to muster. But everyone's got to do more on that regard because time is always running out, myself included. Every day it seems like I get the feeling like I'm racing against the clock. I keep getting sidetracked trying to. I mean, it's all stuff that needs to get out, but I didn't realize until today that like shortly after that there was a series of events that showed that I had earned some extra merit. And I got rewarded with more mitzvot for the mitzvot that I've done. Now the only thing to do is not to screw it up. With a great deal of his help, I will succeed in not screwing it up. Only a heaping helping of fear. Never let my presumptions of what is correct get too far, run too far away before I double check that they are correct. Do my best to try to spot the line between where the evil inclination is a help to bring that fear of heaven as a reminder, like always be cautious and always, always, always check your compass and make sure it's pointing in the right direction. And where it's going too far and being, where it veers off from a compass of guidance to keep you on the path to where it seeks to stifle you and get you to not do anything. But then there's also like a kind of under aspect of that where it will also come to get you to do something that's not right. It's very sneaky. Especially it will lead you down the path by getting you to make those assumptions and have you be correct a few times and get you far enough off the path by putting up a mirage like, hey, you're doing great. See, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're a smart guy. You're so wise. You're a tzaddik. You're a righteous. You're a righteous individual. God loves you. That's awesome. You're doing so great. And then one day, bam! You do something so horrible. You wonder how did that happen? There was nothing that changed. It was all. If you break out the magnifying glass and look at your actions, retrace your steps, honestly, you'll see right where you veered off the path. It's like a forensic accounting of the soul of your own actions. You can see that's where they got in. They breached the system. They stole all the documents. Can't claim being hacked though. All our actions are our own fault. Because as strong as the Satan is at any given moment for each person, our good inclination is always capable of fighting back and winning. But we have to get up, do it. You got to realize that it's going to be handed to you on a silver platter, especially not an eternity of good. Yesterday was such an amazing day. I can't remember if I mentioned it or not, but another thing I thought of recently was there's just not enough hours in a day to get everything done. There's at least not how I want, how I would like to, I can rush through things and make them less than ideal, less than they should be. But I would rather not do that. I'd rather try to, especially not with anything real. I mean, I've dedicated so much of that that type of give it my all focus to absolute stiot really. I mean, sure, it probably helped some people do or see some corner of the truth and not be maybe a little less lost. I mean, I really have no idea how much one act could, you know, create or destroy this world. So I won't find out till I have to stand at the gates of Gehenna and run inside screaming, "If it is your will." Well, I was thinking about it today, and I got an immediate sign that you'll get no extra hours in a day, buddy. You wasted enough time as it is. God's certainly not going to change the laws of creation, so I can try to make up for wasting so much time. And I have to try to do my best with whatever waking hours I can focus on something important that's really real, something of lasting value. And certainly not to make a name for myself. Unfortunately, that's what most people think is important as far as a lasting impact. They want their name in a book or like some piece of music or art or a building with their name on it or a statue. And not only is most of that kind of disgusting because most of it's just for pure ego and pride, but also the any potential reward that a person has in the next world, they literally drain their merits by putting their name on something. At least something that they didn't have to, as far as so people knew like where to find more if it has something of value. And that definitely doesn't apply to like a building or a statue. That was a hummingbird. I'm not sure if you guys heard it. It was buzzing in my ear. That's one thing about idolatry that I've been thinking about for the last year. Or actually, I guess at least a year and a half. since seeing all the, I mean, I kind of had like a, just a surface sense, but it wasn't really clear. Like when I first saw what the destruction that ISIS did to like the Egyptology museums, where they in areas where they took over, like how they smashed all the Egyptian idolatry and stuff. Well, really wasn't like quite as clear as it became like a year and a half ago, like the last half of 2020. Once once that same thing started happening here in America, when Antifa started ripping down statues everywhere. God uses wicked people to show people the truth all the time. It doesn't matter if they're people that adhere to the New Testament, or they're Muslim terrorists, or they're communists or fascists. Or his heretical children. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before the fall. All all this stuff is like a, especially over the last few years, but you know, I guess maybe 6, 7, 10, 20, 22 years. But you know, when a mass casualty event occurs, it's a warning. Well, it's more than a warning. It's a korban. It's a sacrifice. So that people take notice, both as a something to appease the Malak Mavet, because he's right in saying that we should be destroyed most of the time. And so he has to be appeased somehow, because that is God's seal, it's the truth. So we can't just not bring the judgment at all. There has to be some kind of event where a bunch of souls are flayed out on the altar and the blood is strewn about. Well, we have to see that should have been us, you know, crumbled in the dust and flesh melted, or burned alive, or ran over by tanks, or blown up by bombs, or died struggling to breathe, even though there's plenty of oxygen in the world. As as the organs fail. All from a tiny little soldier. So small that no one can see it with the eye. That no one other than the sages knew until a few hundred years ago. Sages from the Gemara knew about the germs. But there was things that were smaller than the eye. Various creatures, creations. Just a moment. Water is good, especially when the body is thirsty. I wasn't really aware of consciously of how disgusting statues were until they started getting ripped down here. I mean, at first, my initial reaction was like, how dare they? Why are the police not doing anything? Then it was like obviously they aren't doing anything. Things are pretty screwed up. even if they feel and wanted to, they're captivated by their own desires. I mean, a lot of people would say that's money, but that's not it. Money is just a vessel. Money is just an excuse and physicality for people to debase themselves. People would do the same things if there was no money. Money just makes it easier. High-speed debauchery. And bills of credit payable upon death for a unimaginable amount of suffering before utter destruction. But I think that's how. I think that was God's plan to really see who wanted to know the truth, and if they could see through all the garbage that is, the only reason it's in the world is because it's in people, it's in us. The filth of their soul that they have stained so badly from their own pride. I mean, it's the more that I think about America, the more disgusting it becomes, and how, like, I mean, any nation really, not nation, but state, and I mean, I was a complete ignorant as far as, like, the truth, really, and especially the Torah, for most of my life. But to think, how people that claimed to adhere to at least half the Book of God. Coyote missed out on dinner. Rabbit got away into the brush. God shows mercy to his creation once again, at least to one of them. But how people could that claim to adhere to the Torah, even though they added a disease scab onto it. That is the New Testament. I mean, any English translation is clear enough to see that you're not supposed to worship idols, and you're certainly not supposed to praise anything in a way that you do God. Whether it's a person or a concept, like the state or freedom, no matter what state that is, or how noble people think the idea is. People turn the flag into an idol, and they turn freedom into God. But that's just like I mean, most people don't see that, obviously, but that's just an excuse. They really, what it really is they wanted to worship themselves, so that they could think that I got this by the might of my own hand. My forefathers fought and died for my freedom. Even if that were the case, what do you people do with it? What did I do with it? Certainly nothing good until recently. Myself, anyway. Well, like I've slowly learned that there is no freedom. It's all worship of something. A person can acknowledge that and use the compass of the Torah to figure out what it is that they should serve. Or they can be blind and serve anything else other than the one true God, the master of the universe and creator of all the worlds. the only God of Israel. Or they can serve anything else. It's really just a vast number of names for what they want physically, fulfilling their pleasuring themselves, basically. It's like that's what it all is. Having another person there when a person has relations in a way that's not to fulfill God's will. It's just an excuse for that person to not feel as disgusting as they would otherwise. There's really, a mutual partner in their filth. They're both prostitutes. They just say, and it's pretty logically clear that they're, even if they weren't correct because of the Torah and their merit from heaven, it's logically correct and obvious that even if a person has illicit relations with someone and they aren't paid for it physically with money or goods, they still prostitute themselves because they get paid with pleasure or with honor or status. Oftentimes, multiples of all those things. Now, anytime I see a defaced statue from antiquity, I can't help but think that, those people knew the truth. Or there's a chance anyway. Maybe they were just prideful people and they wanted their own fake statues and not whatever one they were defacing. Not that I'll ever know. But it's kind of ironic that the Sphinx doesn't have a nose, though. I wonder if that was knocked off 3,334 years ago. Well, if there's no one here, and especially no one that has any questions or anything, I think my head's kind of empty for now, and I'm gonna try to go get more work done. I hope we can all see the idols and everything and smash them all to pieces. And if they're inanimate intangibles, then at least at least not dedicate time to them, and try to prevent that. Try to prevent the concept of their people holding them as an idol, or putting faith or trust in them. It doesn't matter if it's a state or a flag or an idea like freedom or an army or a missile defense system or AR-15 or even any aircraft 20 millimeter mounted on the back of a Hilux. None of it has any power at all. And it certainly can't make you free. And it can't keep you alive. There's only two things that can keep a person alive. One is pretty obvious. I mean, it should be anyway. It's doing teshuvah, for a person to get in closer to good standing. At least start that process with the Creator of the worlds. And the second one is losing a large sum of money or having it taken from you, because money is a substitute for life. It's called damim, like bloods in Hebrew. I'm sure there's lots of secrets to why, or like deeper meanings to why it's plural. But a person doesn't need money to live. They need merit. And you can't, I mean, I guess, no, I was going to say you can't buy merit, but that's not true. You can buy merit if you shop in the right place. Be a discerning consumer. Shop smart. By Torah and mitzvahs. Talk to you guys later. Don't worship any idols.